Further debate, the member for Guelph.
Thank you, Speaker. It's an honour today to rise to speak on this bill. And before I begin, I just want to take a moment to thank the frontline healthcare workers, the drivers, the delivery drivers, the transit drivers, our long-term care workers, our teachers. My children have received their homework, much to their displeasure, but they're working hard at it, I hope, as we speak. I want to offer my condolences to everyone who we've lost in this crisis. And I know we all feel it. And I think sometimes where I most feel it is when I go do that thing that we all do every week and go grocery shopping. And you can see it in the eyes of everyone who's also shopping. And you can see it in the eyes of the people at the store. There's like this fear, but yet deep desire to connect with each other. And it just shows you the everyday heroes that we experience as we do some of the most mundane things day to day in our lives. And so I also want to say I appreciate the actions of the government that they've taken to help flatten the curve and frankly save lives. And I want to thank the people of Ontario who are staying home and practicing physical distancing and saving lives. You know, I have little doubt that the government, with a bit of pushing from the opposition and others, are doing everything they can to make sure we ramp up the amount of testing we do in the province, to make sure that everyone, our frontline healthcare workers, those who work in long-term care homes, those who work in any homes, whether it's supportive housing, housing for disabled, people of all abilities, to have the personal protective equipment they need. Frontline officers, I'm starting to see more delivery drivers having access now. It's so critically important to get that in the hands of everyone who's working on the front lines in our province. I think the Premier and the Prime Minister deserve compliments and kudos for the clear way they've been communicating during this crisis, being transparent with the public about what is happening and the urgent priorities to flatten the curve and save lives. And so in many respects that means quarantining partisanship in this House, and so I'll be supporting this bill, supporting the fast passage of this bill like the other opposition parties. But Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk about some things that I feel are missing from the bill as well, because I think it's important to hear from those Ontarians who want us to come and fill in the gaps. Because unfortunately, even though the federal government has acted, there are a lot of Ontarians who are still falling through the gaps. I'm hearing from people who don't fully qualify for the CERB payments. I'm talking about people who need additional mental health supports. I'm talking about small businesses who don't know if they're going to keep the doors open after May 1st when the next rent is due. And I'm sure the government's hearing those concerns too. So, Speaker, the problem's not what's in the bill. What's in the bill is good. It's good. The challenge is what's not in the bill. And that's what I think we need to address when we come back next month, if it's not too late for some folks. And I received an email, and I want to read it from a constituent of mine who I think really captures how some people are falling through the cracks. I want to quote, "I'm a single mom that has a 20-year-old daughter that is dependent on me, as we both are victims of domestic violence. Her mental and emotional health is very unstable at this time. She was in trauma counseling. She's also an essential service worker, and with the reduction of hours at her employment, she only works 10 hours a week. She doesn't qualify for EI benefits, nor does she qualify for the CERB. Now, with the loss of one of my positions, there's not enough to pay for rent, car payments, food, and any of our bills. I'm not sure where to turn or who to turn to at this time. Everything that I've read online doesn't qualify my daughter or myself. I'm reaching out for help." So I want a bill that's going to help the people, and she's not the only one, the people like her across Ontario. We need direct financial payments for people who don't qualify for the CRB. We need direct financial payments for people who are on social assistance to top them up to the CRB, because I can tell you, so many people I know on Ontario Works, Ontario Disability Support, they would get by doing odd jobs here and there to bring in a little extra cash, or they would go to places like Hope House in my riding to get lunch as a community. Those places are closed. Those job opportunities no longer exist, but those people still need to eat. They're our neighbors. You know, we're fortunate that landlords are mostly being pretty flexible with rent, but we can't rely on goodwill alone. I've talked to small business owners who don't know if they'll be able to maintain their business. You know, we know the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world are going to survive this crisis, but I want our downtowns to survive this crisis. I want the businesses that make our communities so vibrant and vital to survive this crisis. And I don't know if they're going to be able to reopen if they don't get rent support for May 1st, certainly not if they don't get it by June 1st. And so I know the Premier likes to talk about Ontario being open for business. I want to make sure our small businesses can reopen when we emerge from this crisis. I want Ontario businesses, local businesses, independently owned businesses to be open for business when we recover from this pandemic. Speaker, I want to echo my colleagues' calls for support for municipalities. I've been meeting with mayors who have talked about the fact that they're losing millions of dollars in transit fares, parking fees, and others sources of revenue. There's a lot of people who are not going to be able to pay their property taxes over the next little while. And we know that municipalities provide essential services. We have to keep our transit going. We have to ensure that our public health units are fully funded and operating now more than ever. Do we need them? And all the other vital services that municipalities play in our communities. And so when we come back in May, I want to make sure that we have a relief package for our municipalities. I want to finally say that when we come back for May, and I see the ministers here, that we provide more than $12 million of extra funding for mental health supports. I can tell you the people reaching out to my office, and I'm sure everyone's office in this House, the need and the demand to provide additional mental health supports is huge. And we're going to have to step up and support and help those people. And I know we all care. I know we all care. And so let's provide the funding that's needed to provide the mental health supports that the people of Ontario are going to need. Speaker, we will emerge from this crisis because of the spirit of the people of this province, their courage, the extraordinary way in which they're caring for people. And I believe the government, everybody in this House, we have to step up and ensure that we provide the helping hand that's going to ensure that nobody falls through the cracks because of COVID-19. Thank you, Speaker.